When it comes to tokenization, you have to be careful not to be overexcited because you can tokenize an asset that looks awesome on paper, but if you don't do anything about it, then it doesn't help. It's useless. It's just a new technology on the top of an asset. Tokenizing is step one of a 6-step process.
It seems like the race right now is with stablecoins and tokenized funds or tokenized assets.
Yeah, exactly.
This episode is brought to you by Trezor. Trezor makes beautifully crafted hardware wallets that allow you to easily and safely store your crypto assets. Trezor's been in the game for a very long time. Since 2013, they were the pioneers of hardware wallets and the seed phrase setup, and their hardware wallets are open source. In fact, my favorite is the Trezor Safe 5. It's a beautifully designed and easy to use hardware wallet, guys, and it's my go-to. And they support a variety of coins. All your top crypto tokens, your Bitcoins, your XRP, Ethereum, Solana, and much more. And even new coins, even BlackRock's BUIDL token. So they support coins on the institutional side where you have tokenization of different assets and much more. And they even offer a great service that helps you to get your Trezor device set up. You get one-on-one customer support from their team. So you can check that out as well. So once again, I'm a big fan of this hardware wallet. So if you'd like to learn more, visit the link in the description. Hey folks, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast. I'm your host, Tony Edward, and joining me today is Eric Piscini, who is the CEO of Hashgraph. Eric, it's great to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Eric, I've been a big fan of Hedera for many years. I'm an Hbar token holder, and I'm excited to dive into the latest updates around Hashgraph and all the great things you and the folks are doing. Let's kick it off with your background. Tell us a bit about yourself and your professional background.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being a HBAR holder. I appreciate it. I started my journey in blockchain back in 2013 when I was a partner at Deloitte and discovered that crypto, craziness from a technology point of view. I'm an engineer. So from a technology point of view, I was very excited about the Bitcoin white paper. And then I realized that as Deloitte, we needed to be ready to engage with our clients on that topic of crypto, which turns into the blockchain discussion, the Web3 discussion, and DLTs and all of this. So I've done that for many years. It was really exciting to start something new within a big organization. Just with a lot of friends, a lot of people are now still at Deloitte or left Deloitte and are, a little bit everywhere in the world working on different crypto projects, which is really exciting. I decided to go and start a company with other individuals that I was helping to start the company. So we did that for supply chain, blockchain and supply chain. We did that for 2 years. I left to go back to a big firm, IBM, because a friend of mine asked me to go and help him with innovation, blockchain, and new things in an industry that I didn't really know, which was healthcare and life science industry. So I learned a ton on how that industry functions. The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And then decided to go back to the core, which is Hedera, and be part of that team, start in March of 2023. So joined Mance and Lehman, the founders of Hedera at that time. And I'm currently the CEO of Hashgraph, which is, think of Hashgraph as the lab team behind Hedera. So we do product and engineering and security and DevOps and marketing and communication and a lot of things for the entire ecosystem. So it's an exciting time for us because of many things I'm sure we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, that's awesome. You certainly have a plethora of experience in the world of blockchain and at some very big companies. You mentioned Deloitte and IBM. When you were at IBM, were they using the Hyperledger Fabric protocol? I think that's one.
Most of what we were building back then was on Hyperledger Fabric because that was the IBM platform, right? We did actually really something very interesting. We built an application where you could collect your healthcare information from different sources, right? Your doctor, your pharmacy, the hospital, your lab results into one place, and you could decide how to manage this information yourself and share that information with different parties depending on the need. So you were now in control of your own information, which was a really good case for blockchain, really good case for getting the custody of your own personal data on your phone, right? So we did that, and it was pretty successful. And then COVID started, and we actually did a version of that solution just for COVID, so people could use that solution to collect their test results and their vaccination status and share that back to different entities when they needed to do this. So we did that for the state of New York, for example. And it was called the Excelsior Pass if you were in New York during that time.
Oh, wow. I did not know that this technology was used in healthcare and in that way during the COVID situation. So with Hyperledger Fabric, I'm curious about the dynamic of permission blockchains versus public, because Hyperledger was permission. Do you see a world where both will exist, that companies may use permission for certain private information like healthcare data, but public maybe for more finance and things like that?
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit more detailed than that, right? You have public and private, and permission and permissionless, right? So you can mix and match those four things. Obviously, Bitcoin is public, permissionless, so anything goes, right? No one controls it. And then you have the permissioned private, which is Hyperledger Fabric, which was a limited number of nodes controlled by the consortium, whoever that consortium is. And it's private because the network itself is not visible to the public, right? So you have those two extremes, and then you have flavors in between. What we do at Hedera, for example, is we are a public blockchain, but we are permissioned, right? So you cannot decide tomorrow to run a node on Hedera. You need to be part of the council in order to do this. We need to be accepted in the council, and we help you run your own node. But it's public because you can go on an explorer and you can see all the transactions happening on Hedera, right? So that's a mix of both things, which is permission but public.
Interesting. So to your point, there's going to be a bit of mix and matching here, depending on the need, depending on the industry that's looking to adopt this technology.
Yeah, that way. And we launched about 6 months ago now. We launched a version of Hedera which is permission still, but private, because we had a lot of interest from financial institutions all over the world, supply chain companies, and so on, asking for the same technology, because they love the technology, that the actual technology invented by Lehman Baird is really awesome, but they could not afford to live in a public blockchain, right? Because of regulatory limitations, because of data residency challenges, because of privacy issues, right? They didn't want anyone to know that they were transacting with each other, right? Which you would see in a public ledger. You don't see that on a private ledger unless you're part of the consortium itself. So we built this solution called HashSphere, and that's a version of Hedera that is leveraging the exact same technology, except that it's a private network as opposed to a public network.
Is it
You have the choice. Yeah.
is it kind of like a layer two, or is it like sitting side by side and there's a bridge for certain information?
Yeah. It's not a layer two. It's a side by side, and there's a connection, a bridge, an interconnection between an HashSphere, which is a private version, and mainnet, which is the public version, or between HashSphere themselves. You can also bridge different private versions with each other if you want to.
Very interesting. So this allows those who face significant regulatory compliance and handle very sensitive information to do these transactions, whether it be banks, maybe healthcare companies, and getting the blockchain benefits, but it's not open to the public.
Yeah, and it's also a way. The way I think of this is, it's still a brand new technology, right? So a lot of traditional organizations are going to be very concerned about exposing something to the public, and they don't really know the specifics. So for them to go and say, yes, I'm going to be running on the public blockchain, it's a really hard mental barrier, right? So if we give them a chance to do it in the private environment, which is something that they're more familiar with, and then over time, they might decide, I feel much more comfortable now with the technology and the code and the permission aspect and the way the technology works, the consensus mechanisms. I'm okay now opening to the public. I think that's also a journey for our clients.
That makes sense. It's like a testing ground and they feel comfortable and confident, and then they move it over, if they want to the public network.
Yeah, the point for us is, regardless of where you are as an organization in your journey of adoption, we can find you where you are. We're not going to force you to come to us. We're going to find a way, a path for you to engage with us and benefit from that awesome technology that we have at Hedera.
So I don't know if this question makes sense. In that HashSphere private chain, so to speak, um, is the Hbar token also running through the rails there or not?
It's not. You can decide, because you actually manage this HashSphere as a consortium, for example. You can decide to create your own token
Mm.
into that HashSphere and benefit from that. The Hbar crypto itself is not used unless you are using a bridge to mainnet. And in that case, yes, there is an interaction with the Hbar as a cryptocurrency. There is as a token, there is a need for exchange. But you can decide whether you have a token or not, whether you want to have that token exposed to the public or not. You can decide a lot of things, which is, again, the flexibility of using the technology the way you want as an organization, not the way the vendor, which is us, are forcing you to do, right?
Now, one of the things I know Hedera has a massive governing council with some very big names like Google, IBM, and so forth. Are those folks like testing on HashSphere? Can you give examples of some of the things they may be testing or piloting, if you can?
So most of them are building on the public ledger, on the public mainnet, right? A few of them are doing hybrid, right? A few of them are saying, I need both, because they
Mm.
have very specific needs that needs that privacy construct or that data residency, right? I cannot have my transactions being verified outside of a country or a region, right? So they need this, but they also have a lot of needs for the public version. And so they usually do a mix of both with a bridge in between.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So it's very much going to be this hybrid adoption model, so to speak, the private aspect and then the public. So, yeah, that definitely makes sense.
I've been a big fan of this model for a long time, right? I
Mm.
remember the early days we were fighting, private versus
Mm.
public. You're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah,
That's not the way to do it, right? I don't know why we need to choose, right? The point is, you don't have to choose. You can decide to engage with that technology in a lot of different ways. And then you decide over time if you want to move from one structure, one framework to another. But we shouldn't force organizations to use one state of mind versus another. I mean, that's not the way business works, right? You have to meet the business where they are.
absolutely. Yeah, and the real world, there's a lot of different moving parts and components in business, so it's not one size fits all. There has to be customization for different aspects of the business.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So some of these folks that you mentioned that are building in the governing council are building on Hedera. What are they building? Are they tokenizing assets? Are they using blockchain to move data, maybe in supply chain or things like that?
Yeah, all of the above. So we have 32 or 33 now council members, right? So we have a lot of diversity. Some of them are working on stablecoin, right, on Hedera. Some of them are working on supply chain, like you mentioned. And by the way, not just them, right? We have a lot of organizations outside of the council also building on Hedera
Mm.
for supply chain, for example, purposes. Some of them are building in the sustainability market, right? And managing carbon credits and carbon footprint, right, on Hedera. We do a lot of work in AI with some of them, capturing what an AI agent or an AI model is doing and using Hedera as a trust layer for these AI activities to be recorded and being able to be audited in the future if we need to. So very different use cases, across the board. I would say if I have to pick the big topics, I would say it's four. It's sustainability, it's tokenization of real assets,
Mm.
it's stablecoin, and it's now the AI. And we do have actually built over the last 18 months or so, very specific what we call studio dedicated to those topics, right? AI, tokenization, stablecoin, and sustainability. Sustainability for a while. We've been working on this for a while. And now we have a way to engage with Hedera, whether public or private. You have a way to engage with an abstraction layer on the top of the network, which accelerates your adoption. So if you want to build a stablecoin solution, you can do that in weeks on the top of Hedera, because we built all the pieces on the top of Hedera necessary for you to build your stablecoin, for example.
That's really great. So it's kind of turnkey. You can come in, everything's set up there, and you can hit the ground running.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we are trying to remove the friction, right? We are trying to say, if you want to use this amazing technology that we have, talk to us. We are removing the friction as much as we can, and tell us what else we can do to remove additional friction. So you don't have to think about the complexity of the technology. You just plug and play if you want, right? It's like, back in the day, you were saying, okay, I'm going to move to the cloud. Sounds very, very complicated. It sounds very scary and all of that. But over time, the industry was able to create those abstraction layer and migration tools to move from the old world to the new world. And that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And then, some of the things I want to highlight here, because I've seen them in the news, was, for example, crypto exchange Archax putting a tokenized money market fund launching on Hedera. There was also news of here, I think Swarm, they launched a DeFi compatible tokenized stocks on Hedera. So you have a lot happening, a lot of building. It seems like the race right now is with stablecoins and tokenized funds or tokenized assets. Is that kind of what everybody, all of these institutions are looking to do right now?
It is, and it's across the board. It's not just capital market companies, which you think would be the one. We do a lot of work with this company called Red Swan, which is a tokenization of real estate, and it's amazing the level of traction we are getting, tokenizing real estate projects and offering investors a chance to participate in those projects, where before I didn't even know those projects existed and I could invest in them, right? And now you can. And regardless of where you are in the world, almost, you can invest in those projects. So that there is a lot of energy around this. When it comes to tokenization, you have to be careful not to be overexcited, because you can tokenize an asset and that looks awesome on paper, but if you don't do anything about it, then it doesn't help. It's useless, right? It's just a new technology on the top of an asset. What you need to do is you need to create a market. You need to create liquidity. You need to create demand. So all of those things that are traditional finance kind of activities, they still need to happen even when you tokenize the asset, right? Tokenizing is step one of a 6-step process, right? So we have to be very realistic about expectations around tokenization. Yes, please tokenize, because it gives investor access 24/7, on-chain trustability, blah, 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 awesome stuff. But you still have to do the rest of the work, right? You still have to find distribution channels. You still have to find investors. You still have to report to the regulators and to those investors. All of that still needs to happen. It's not just tokenization of the asset.
That's such a great point, because it would be like me tokenizing my house versus someone tokenizing the Empire State Building. One is very well known across the world. It's in prime real estate in Manhattan. One is in the suburbs. I don't think there's going to be a big market for it, but there would be a big market for the Empire State Building. So it's very much on, dependent on the asset, the mass awareness of that asset, and is there a market for it?
Exactly. And you want to activate liquidity for that asset. So if you say, okay, everybody invest in the Empire State Building tomorrow. Okay, I'm investing and I'm going to sit on it forever. Okay, great, but that sounds great. That's not enough, right? To me, that's not enough. That's not ambitious enough. The ambition is now I have thousands of investors in that building, and they can use that investment as a collateral to get a loan, and that creates liquidity, and that creates a lot of activity associated with this investment that I didn't have access to before, right? So that's the exciting part, is the engine around tokenization is expanding liquidity, expanding trust, and expanding access to those assets.
Yeah, that's another great point. Like, it's not just holding the asset, but what can you do with it? And the DeFi component is huge, and it can open up so many opportunities for people to gain capital, to maybe get working capital to fix or buy or whatever they want to do with it. But the point is, they have the collateral, and then with the blockchain, you open up a kind of a global market. It's not just people in the United States, but maybe someone in Hong Kong wants to will be willing to lend me or some money based on the collateral I provide.
Exactly. Especially if you ask to borrow in a stablecoin, which is also on chain and
Mm.
also, 24/7 and so on. So now you can, buy a percentage of the empire still building, to use your example, and then the day after collateralize this investment and get a loan in USDC to
Mm.
buy, another asset and do, maybe some yield management around this, right? So there is a lot of things you can unlock by tokenizing. My point is, the tokenization itself is not enough. You need to do more than that to benefit from this technology.
Yeah, great point, and that absolutely makes sense. And that, I guess, that's what Swarm specifically, they're looking to enable DeFi compatibility for those tokenized stocks on Hedera.
Yes, and many others. We have a lot of companies, amazing companies on the ecosystem, trying to, benefit from this. And they all understand the need for technology innovation and technology adoption, but also for business innovation, which is the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is to innovate from a business point of view, not just, I have a great platform, listen to me, right? It's not enough. It's never been enough, right? And I've been in the business for 30 years. When you sell technology, you don't sell the core technology, you sell the output, the outcome of that technology, and what it means for you as an investor, as an asset manager, what it means for you to use that technology. That's what we need to focus on.
Oh, absolutely. Talk to us a bit about how you and the folks at Hashgraph are prepared to handle the demand and volume. So let's say with crypto legislation getting passed and TradFi institutions are looking to build stablecoins, tokenized assets, and much more, is Hedera, what are the steps or plans you have in place to handle that volume and transactions? And maybe you can talk a bit about the latency and TPS and all these things.
Yeah. So I think you have really three ways to look at your question. You can look at it from a technology capability point of view, right? And you can say, Hedera Public today is about 10 to 20,000 TPS, right? 10 to 20,000 TPS that you can run on the Hedera Public ledger. That's a really good, TPS, right?
Yeah.
For a layer one. But in some instances, as the demand grows, we will need to have additional capabilities. That's where HashSphere could play a role, right? You can offload some of that activity into a private ledger for very high speed and high volume transactions, and then use the public ledger for anchoring that HashSphere, that private version, on a regular basis. So now you offload the transaction to an HashSphere. The other way to do that is to do sharding, which we can activate sharding on the top of Hedera as well. There is a lot of ways to scale from a technology point of view, right? So that's the first way to think about scaling. The second one is we need people, right? Because that's an interesting challenge in our industry, right? In Web3, finding the right engineers, the right, business development people, the right product leaders is not easy, right? There's a lot of competition, and the pool of resources is still kind of small. So you have a challenge of finding the right people. I think our position is, we've been seen from the very beginning as the adults in the room. And so we are able to attract in Hashgraph, in Hedera, in our entire ecosystem, a lot of people who would be scared by Web3 because it's too wide, or it's too messy, or it's too focused on, the volatility of the cryptocurrency itself. We are a different breed, if you want, in Web3. And so we have a really good chance of acquiring very strong talent coming from what I would call Web2 into our world. So that's stress level around finding the right people is lower for us because of that, because of our brand approach. And then the third piece of scaling, to your point, right? So we talked about the technology, we talked about finding the right people. There is an ecosystem piece, right? And how do we make sure that the ecosystem is actually scaling with us, right? So that we have enough bridges, we have enough, oracles, we have enough wallets, we have enough, and that's where we partner a lot with the foundations. We have two different foundations helping the ecosystem grow with us. And so they give grants, they support, those companies, and they are very, very active in the ecosystem. So between those three things, I feel very comfortable that we are, in a unique position to scale as the demand scale for the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you can answer this, but the folks who are part of your governing council are some of the largest companies in the world and have a lot of experience in Web2 and technology. I'm assuming you're in contact with them and they're providing ideas and helping you along the way as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's one of the value of the council is to actually listen to them, and we go to them 4 times a year. We have 4 council members meeting every year, 2 in person, 2 virtual, and we talk to them outside of those meetings as well. But during those meetings, we say, what do you need? What kind of capabilities do you think are useful for you to continue to build on Hedera, right? And that's where the idea of those studios I mentioned earlier, the AI studio, the stablecoin studio, the tokenization studio, that's where it came from. It came from discussion with the market overall, but specifically with council members who said, that would be great if we could get so they didn't think of the idea of studio, but they said, I need a tokenization platform on the top of Hedera. And we said, oh, awesome, we can build that. And we did, right? So that is a lot of collaboration between us and the member of the council to build the next generation. So it's kind of a luxury for us to have that council because we can do product market fit with them before we actually go to market. So we have a unique advantage. Once again, a unique advantage as a platform. Very often people ask me, what is your differentiator as a project? And I say we have 3. We have the technology is very unique, very good, very fast, very secure, low latency, finality, fair ordering, really, really important things, right, from a technology point of view. We have the council, which is this body of requirements and users for the technology. So that's our incubator, if you want, almost, right? And then we have this decision that was made very early on by the co-founders of Hedera, Mance and Lehman, just to have a fixed price for the transaction in US dollar, as opposed to in crypto, right? So the cost of a transaction fee is always going to be the same in US dollar. So when you're a business and you hear that, you don't care about the value of HBAR because you always pay in US dollar, right? So HBAR goes up and down, doesn't matter to you. Your business case is still the same, which is very hard to do if you use another blockchain who's using crypto as a way to pay for transaction fees. And those 3 things, the core technology, the council, and the fixed fee in dollar are really the differentiator for us. It's really, really amazing what we have.
That's amazing. And pretty groundbreaking, specifically that the settlement is in US dollars versus the crypto asset. Very different from everything out there in the industry.
Yeah. That's why I'm excited. You can tell, right? So those 3 things are so unique that I know we have a very unique way to engage with the market. And with very big and very small organizations alike.
Talk to us a bit about the use of AI and how you envision that fitting into the Web3 ecosystem. Will it be used to assist people in those studios when they are ready to, launch their stablecoin or tokenize an asset or whatever it is?
Yeah, there is a lot of ways to think about AI and blockchain. I usually think around those 4 different dimensions. I'm going to go quick. The first one is it's going to be hard in the future to trust a single company to do everything AI for me as an organization, me as an individual. So the decentralization of an AI solution, I think is going to be really, really important, right? So you don't have to trust one single entity or one single government, by the way. to have an AI solution delivered to you. That's number one. Number two, as I mentioned earlier, which is mostly what we've done with the AI Studio, is using blockchain as a trust layer of AI, right? So an AI solution, whether it's model, an agent, whatever AI you're using, is sourcing data, collecting data, training, delivering results, and those results can actually get used to for another agent. That supply chain, what I call the supply chain of AI, needs to be anchored on the blockchain to be trusted and to be auditable. All right, so that's the second piece. The third piece is all those AI agents that we are starting to run and use every day, almost every day, and almost all of us, will have to exchange value. They're going to have to pay each other for a transaction. They're going to have to buy something from me or sell something from me. And those activities need to use blockchain technologies because that's been designed for this exact case, right? So AI is, stablecoin was the first killer app. I think AI agents in particular is the second one. And then of course you use AI as a tool, to your point, to accelerate what we do. I think I talked to my head of engineering the other day. He was telling me about 50% of the code that we generate now is done by an AI, right?
Wow.
And so our clients are the same, the big organization on the cancel and beyond. They are also using AI to accelerate the development of solutions. So everything accelerates, and everything will need an anchor from a trust point of view, which is, I think, where we play as an industry, not just as Hedera, by the way.
Yeah, that's really great. And I'm really excited to see the agentic world and the use of stable coins and crypto assets and blockchain rails. It's going to be pretty fascinating. And the new opportunities that opens up for people to be entrepreneurs. And I know folks have been talking about there may be single entrepreneurs who are running a team of AI agents and they're billionaires, right? It's
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that was Sam who said that, right? He said
Yeah.
the next billionaire is going to be a kid in a garage running a company with a bunch of AI agents working for him or her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fascinating. I'm curious what's on your roadmap. What can we expect from Hashgraph in the coming months?
Oh, wow. Do you have an hour in front of you? Well, I mean, maybe across the different dimensions of what we do, right? We
Yeah.
are planning on expanding the council, having more council members, which is always exciting because that's validation for us, but it's also more use cases and more ways to build new things for our council members. So that's one dimension that I'm excited about. We don't announce in advance who is going to be on the council, so I cannot talk too much about this, but we have a very strong pipeline. From a technology point of view, if you're a developer, I invite you to look at Blockstream and Block Nodes, which is the next generation of the infrastructure around the consensus and the token service that we have on Hedera. Those are really exciting innovation that are coming out now as we speak. And we have, a lot of activities beyond that. We have a protocol that Guy Bear, so one of the co-founder of Hedera, is working on, which is to interoperate between two different blockchains without the need of a bridge, right?
Mhm.
So now we go to from a world where bridges are becoming the central choke point of that world to becoming to remove them from the picture, because that technology can enable two different blockchains to talk to each other without the need of a central party, right? Which is more in line with the spirit of blockchain, right? The
Yeah.
decentralization spirit of blockchain. So that's also very exciting, right? And then what's exciting to me as well is what we talked about studio earlier on the podcast here, is the expansion of those studios to cover additional geography. For example, the Tokenization studio is expanding beyond the traditional places where we've been building, right? So Dubai, Singapore, the US, Europe, London, many other places in the world where that tokenization studio will become available.
Mhm.
So yeah, a really, really exciting time across the board, across the topics. So now, if you're interested in any of this, let me know. Can join us, because we need more people all the time. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And then, with regards to the larger market, we've seen the Genius Act get passed for stablecoins. We got the Clarity Act coming up. I'd love to get your perspective on what this means for Hedera and Hashgraph and, innovating and building now that we are in a much more favorable environment.
I think obviously it's fantastic for us as an industry, right? To have clarity from a regulatory point of view. I can't wait for the Genius Act to pass, because that's going to give us, not the Genius Act, the Clarity Act to pass. Because the Clarity Act is really about clarity, is about giving us a clear position on what we can expect from a regulatory point of view. We've been historically very conservative and very good with the regulator. We are a US-based project. For think of this, right? We are a US-based project in crypto.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've been very, very engaged with the regulators over time and very consistent with what they were asking us to do. We are the adults in the room, again, right? From a regulatory point of view as well. And so that's really important to get clarity. What's also interesting is that it creates additional energy for our clients. So our clients now are coming back and saying, stablecoin now, we have Genius Act. I'd love to hear how I can benefit from your platform. You have a stablecoin studio. What can I do with it, right?
Right.
Because they hear that in the news. They don't really kind of know yet how they can benefit from this. And we right away, we say, okay, let's build one in, next week. And then we can see how it works, right? They love the fact that they can enable their business to use a new stablecoin or a new tokenized cash, to tokenize deposits in their business. So clarity is good. Regulatory clarity is always good. I think it's interesting at the bigger picture. It actually rebalances the activity around blockchain and Web3 a little bit more back to the US because of that. So this is good for the US economy and the US innovation.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned, the move to Web3, because for a while we've been hearing Web3, but we haven't seen the bridges built for people to start to move over to Web3 from Web2. But I think with regulation in place, I think you'll start seeing the mass exodus, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. And developers, right? So developers are saying, so before I was taking a risk by joining Web3 because I don't know what's going to happen to this industry, right? Maybe it's going to be a criminal industry in the future. Now they say the risk is much lower. So now I can invest my time in building on the top of Hedera and support this ecosystem. I think that it's across the board. It's really important to get that level of energy and traction in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to see the innovation and the building that comes out of it. You mentioned the impact on the economy, lots of jobs being created, a lot of wealth and things like that. So it's exciting times.
It is. I've been in this industry, as I said, for like 12 years now. I feel very old in this industry. 12 years is a long time,
Yeah.
but I'm as excited as when I started. It's giving me a lot of energy, a lot of reasons to continue to build and continue to change the way we operate as businesses, as individuals. It's really, really an exciting time.
Great stuff, Eric. I got some wrap-up questions here for you. First, if you could create your own metaverse, what would the theme be?
Oh, we haven't talked about metaverse in a while, right? Yes, you're right. I would create a metaverse to visit all the different amazing places on the planet, right? So I would love to be able to go to visit, places in Italy, in Thailand, in Japan, without having to travel for like a day and a half to go there and a day and a half to come back. I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, same here. Rapid fire questions. Favorite food?
Oh, that's hard. That's hard. One dish that I really like because my grandmother and my mother were cooking that is a dish from North Africa. It's called couscous. So it's couscous in the US means the grain itself, but in Europe and in North Africa, it's a dish with meat and vegetables and fantastic. And of course, my grandmother couscous is the best.
Very nice. Favorite musician or band?
I am old school. I love Frank Sinatra.
Favorite movie?
Oh, no, that's too hard. Sorry, man.
Or maybe the most recent movie you saw that you thought was good?
I like Broadway shows, and so I like musicals, right? So so I would pick one. I don't know, Wicked. I love Wicked, for example. It's a Broadway show. I love the movie too, but the Broadway show was the first thing I got exposed to. I love those things. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I saw that 2 years ago. Favorite book?
I like Simon Sinek's, Start with Why book, because it forces you to step back in your life and say, yeah, what am I doing here? Right? Why are we doing this? So I like that book from a business point of view and a reflection, self-reflection point of view.
And I think I know the answer to this. I think it might be tennis, but what do you like to do for fun when you're not
Yes, it
working?
is tennis. It is tennis. Yeah. Love playing, love watching, love going to the US Open. We just did last weekend with my wife. Yeah, tennis for sure.
Awesome. Eric, pleasure chatting with you. And I'm really excited for the future updates around Hashgraph and Hedera. We'd love to have you back on, but thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the next one.